So I finally read some Harlequins. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Seven Sins series, the Dynasties series, mini-series, whatever we like to call it, that Harlequin actually put out for their Harlequin Desire line. Now, it's been a very long time since I've read a Harlequin novel, and as I keep like hauling them and I keep promoting them, I really never got back into reading them. And mostly because I know that once I start, I won't stop and I'll actually grow really addicted, and then I'll actually read all the books. So what I did was that I picked out one series that I want to focus on and actually binged through them. A quick little bit about Harlequin is that Harlequin actually has multiple mini series that you can choose from. They're called series lines. So one of my favorites is actually Harlequin Presents, and then there's Harlequin Desire, and then there's also Harlequin Special Edition and different Harlequin series after that. They just have so much. So what I would really recommend you to do is actually do some research via the website. The website is amazing in the sense that it lets you know what exactly you're getting through each book series line. I personally like Harlequin Presents mostly because Harlequin Presents have billionaires, they're rich, there's dramatic like one night stands, you know, there's babies, there's surprise pregnancies, there's just like long lost princesses, heiresses, and opposites attracts, enemies to lover, all the dramatics that come along with being very wealthy and something that I cannot relate to. With Harlequin Desires, you still get the same amount of rich people and you still get the same amount of heat, but it's going to be a little bit hotter, and that, you know, our female heroines and our female heroes are more experienced. You know, there's more drama to the stories. Now, with this Harlequin Seven Sins series line, it's actually one that was really impressive to me because they released one book every month since the start of May, and then it concluded with the last book in November 2020 of this year. Now, I'm not too sure if these books are still available on the Harlequin website, mostly because Harlequin doesn't like to sell their books past their months of publication after a certain period. Sometimes it becomes unavailable, sometimes, you know, all the books are sold out. So I'm sure you can still find these books on Amazon or through Barnes & Nobles or through any of the bookstores that you typically go to, but this is my review on these 7 Harlequin books that I binge read and loved. So I guess before I start going deep dive into each individual book, I should probably give you like the overarching story of this series. Now, this series actually follows one plot line, but different multiple characters. So you can actually read these books as standalones, but there's just this one continuous plot line throughout the whole book in the backstory. So this series actually follows the story of a family who has been kind of scorned by society and that nobody really trusts them anymore, mostly because the father in the family ran away with a bunch of money from the hedge fund investment company that he ran. Now, this hedge fund investment company is called the Black Crescent Hedge Fund Company, and the father's character's name is actually Vernon Lowell. And this is the story of what happens when Vernon steals a bunch of money from the investment company, stealing riches and wealth from multiple different families, and how it impacts the children's lives. And this is kind of like the story of these children finding love and are able to get past the grievances that happened when they were young and their parents were basically tricked of all their money, and how they grew up to be who they are today and how they grew up to be very successful people, even though that their childhoods were filled with a lot of hardships, mainly because of this one character who stole all the money. So the first book in the series actually starts off with Ruthless Pride by Nema Simone, and now this book follows the character of Joshua Lowell, and Joshua Lowell is the oldest son of Vernon Lowell, and it has been brought to his attention that as the eldest, he is going to inherit the Black Crescent Hedge Fund Company that his family owns and runs, and that his father abandoned. And now he has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders because he wants to keep everyone in the company employed. He wants to redesign the reputation of the company so that more people will invest in his company, and that hopefully that he can keep the company running successfully, even though his father tainted everything. And our main female character is named Sophie. Sophie is an investigative reporter that has been trying to contact Joshua for the longest time now, until Sophie actually barges into Joshua's office and they finally meet face to face. Sophie has a thing that could potentially ruin Joshua, and now Joshua is desperate to try to figure out if this one thing that Sophie is saying is true, and she's kind of like going back and investigating every person in his life, because all he wants to do is just focus on rebuilding this company, and he really doesn't need his reputation to be tarnished by this one thing that Sophie has on him. And now this is kind of the relationship of blossoming between two people who are star-crossed lovers who are probably shouldn't be destined to fall in love with, since Sophie is out there to try to ruin his career while Joshua is desperately trying to save his career, but also making sure that he's being respectful of Sophie and being respectful that she is a proper journalist who is doing all the work that she has to do before reporting on a tabloid piece of news. And she wants to report on something with accurate information. So this is a love story between these two people that kind of have an enemies to lovers romance in the beginning, but then they soon grow to have a friendship romance. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars, mostly because it was kind of confusing at start, because this book is the first book that kind of introduced the whole plot line of Vernon Lowell stealing all the money. And this is the story of his oldest son trying to regain and recuperate and trying to make sure that everybody in the family is being taken care of. For some reason, I don't really like our main character Joshua, mostly because he just keeps going on and on about how he doesn't want to take care of this company. He doesn't want to be the CEO, but then he feels like he should because he's the eldest, and it's just like the same soap opera that happens with the oldest child that I don't really care for. So this one, unfortunately, I only gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was still emotional, and it still included a lot of dramatic twists that I haven't seen before. So if you're looking for a fun, dramatic ride, definitely check out this book. So the next book in the series is actually called Forbidden Lust, and this book is by Karen Booth. And now this one follows a character that was first introduced in the first book, but he was kind of seemed like a villain in the story because he was out there to try to get Joshua and try to have his reputation ruined. You know, he was spreading rumors and he was spreading lies, and in general, he just wasn't a very likable character. So our main hero that we don't really like so far is called Zane, and Zane is being scarred and tormented by his past because his family went from super wealthy to super poor overnight because of Vernon Lowell stealing all the money from his family and the investments. So Zane has grown up with this kind of intention to always go back and to ruin Black Crescent Hedge Funds company and try to take the company down one bit at a time. And he's really like angry at the fact of that. So his friends actually tell him to, you know, take a break from causing like trouble and chaos and go to a secluded island to try to relax for a bit. And there he actually spots someone that he hasn't seen in a long time, and it just so happens to be our main heroine, Allison. And Allison has been having a crush on Zane ever since she was a child. Zane is actually her older brother's best friend, and this is kind of a cute relationship for between them and with this trope. So what happens when a storm actually takes over the island, and now Zane and Allison need to shelter in the same living quarters so that they can survive the storm? Well, things start to happen and a romance start to blossom where we least expect it. So this one, I found that this one was pretty good too as well, but also I found it really weird because all of a sudden they just kind of went to an island and then they had a storm and then they were forced to be with each other. It didn't really seem consistent with the whole story plot line of where everyone is in the situation, since everyone is still back at home in the city and enjoying life, but then somehow this couple is just on an island. I just didn't really get it, but I have a soft spot for an older brother's best friend romance. So this one I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I appreciated the fact that Zane was angry all the time because of his parents losing all the money from this guy that tricked them, but I also didn't really get it when he got over the hatred pretty quickly and fairly on. But also at the same time, happy for Zane that he got over his hatred. So the next book in the series is a book called Insatiable Hunger by Yara St. John. And now this one follows a second chance romance between two friends and kind of an unrequited romance too as well. So our hero is actually named Ryan, and Ryan is a friend of our main heroine named Jesse. And Jesse is actually engaged to one of the guys that shouldn't be engaged to. He's completely wrong for her, and Ryan doesn't want to see Jesse fall for someone and marry someone that is not him. And because Ryan actually has a secret crush on her, and he's been yearning for her for all these years since he's known her, and this is kind of like their emotional romance between each other and how they're going to try to stop the wedding while also trying to convince Jesse that Ryan is perfect for her and not the other guy. But the problem is that our main character Jesse doesn't like the fact that Ryan is actually interviewing for the position of the CEO for the Black Crescent Fund hedge company because the CEO position is open, and then now Ryan wants to be the CEO so that he could take the next step in his career. And Jesse doesn't like that because Jesse's family was actually ruined by the Black hedge fund company, so there's always this kind of like thing that is stopping them from being together. This one definitely made me feel a lot of emotions, and my heart definitely clenched in a lot of areas when I read about Ryan just kind of staring at Jessie and seeing how beautiful she is, but then she's so far away from him that he can't possibly do anything with her because she's kind of off the market. So this one was definitely a very sexy romance too as well. So check it out if you're interested for a lot of yearning and pine. So the next book in the series is actually a book called Hidden Ambition by Jules Bennett. And this one is about a character named Chase. And Chase wants to be the CEO of the hedge fund company that destroyed his life because he has a secret ulterior motive where he wants to destroy the company from within. So if he's the CEO, he can kind of sell the company in bits and pieces and just basically destroy it from within. And then he actually has a crush on Haley, who is the CEO's executive assistant. Basically, Chase tries to seduce Haley because he needs to know all the secrets that the company has, and what better way to gain those secrets and the knowledge from other than the executive assistant who works so closely with the CEO. So Haley is kind of played off as this character that is very smart and very intelligent, and she is very strict, and she's kind of like follows her rules, and she just really wants to do well in her job. So she doesn't really appreciate how flirtatious Chase is with her a lot of the times, but this is kind of the romance between, like a forbidden romance between like a guy that wants to ruin the company that she works for and a girl who wants to save the company that she loves dearly and works for as well. So I absolutely love this one because this one kind of had a cat and mouse element to it where these two characters were hiding secrets from each other, and when the grand reveal happened, I was floored by it. My mouth actually dropped open that like something so big and juicy could happen, and I actually gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Very enjoyable, and I really liked it. I think Jules Bennett will be another Harlequin author that I would look out for, especially since this one impressed me so much. So the next book in the series is actually called Reckless Envy by Joss Woods. And now this book follows two people who have met each other before at a party, and they had an instant attraction for each other. But our main hero named Matt actually kind of discouraged her off and basically said that Emily, who is our main heroine, is not his type, just to like kind of get her out of the way and to move along in the party. And because Emily is actually a couple years younger than Matt, so he kind of used this kind of excuse, and also used the excuse that Emily is just not beautiful enough for Matt. So Emily kind of carries this grudge and this kind of hatred for Matt after the years because she is absolutely humiliated. You know, when she first joined the party, she was fairly young in her age. She didn't have self-confidence yet. So when Matt kind of destroys whatever self-confidence she has, Emily's not too pleased to see Matt again a couple years later in the same company that they kind of work in. Like, I think it's like the same building that they work in. And that's when Matt kind of has an interest for Emily once again, especially with the news that Emily is actually engaged to Matt's like enemy. And now Matt wants to stop this wedding because there's no way that like a perfect and pretty girl like Emily would fall for an atrocious man like his enemy. So Matt there is trying to seduce her and trying to stop the wedding and to stop this thing from happening. There's a lot of like heartache that goes along with it because obviously I just described our characters being very vulnerable with each other and lying to each other a lot of the times, and mostly because they're not opening up with each other since their childhood was a little bit messed up, since their parents were not very there for them and not very supportive of them, and then also with the happenings of their families losing all the fortune due to Vernon Lowell. So this one was also one of my favorite reads in the series, and I absolutely loved it. This one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed this romance between these two characters, and I really like Emily because Emily was just put in this situation that she didn't want to be in, and then now she has to like kind of endure the consequences of it. And also I just like it when like our male heroes realize that they've been jerks all along and they have to beg for forgiveness. So lots of groveling in this one as well. So the 6th book in the series is called Untamed Passion by Kate Shield, and this one follows a character named Oliver Lowell, and basically he is part of the Lowell family. He has a lot of things going on in his childhood where he has felt a lot of shame because he has the Lowell name. There's, you know, the bad reputation that comes with the fact that your father stole a lot of money and committed this white collar crime. So he basically grew up with a bad childhood, and he explores this, and he kind of like goes off in the world to avoid this by becoming a photographer. And basically he is, you know, doing all these glamorous photo shoots, he's having fun, he's being a playboy, he's enjoying women, he's, you know, he's no strings attached, he's a bachelor. And he falls for our main heroine, who is named Sammy, and Sammy is actually a model. She is, I think, Filipino from like the looks of it, and also from her last name, and as well I think I remember that she is like half Filipino, or maybe she is full Filipino, but she is a model, and she was brought to be a model because of her mom, and her mom actually forced her to model from an early age on. Her mom kind of invoked this like notion in her that, you know, all she is a pretty face. She is nothing but a pretty face, and if she doesn't have the figure or the beauty, or she doesn't have the talent and jobs, she is nothing in life, and she can't accomplish anything. There is no other career for her other than being a model. So she kind of has a messed up background as well. So this is kind of like the love story between Sammy and Oliver, and after like one night kind of have consequences, and Sammy is actually left pregnant. So this is kind of like their journey of being parents with each other, and also falling for each other too as well. So definitely pick this one up if you enjoy surprise pregnancies. Well, it's not really a surprise because they tell you in the synopsis, but this one, least favorite to date. I feel like this one's the lowest like rating that I could give in this series, even though I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I think it's a very low 3 out of 5 stars. I just don't really like model characters, and I really don't like the fact that our hero was just kind of running away and becoming a photographer, but not caring about the company and the family as well, and leaving it to his oldest brother to take care of everything. So that's why this one is just gonna be a low 3 out of 5 stars for me. So finally, this is the last book in the series, and it concludes like the whole story arc and everything, all the juicy secrets and juicy tidbits are all revealed, and everything concludes into this kind of happily ever after with this book. This book is called Slow Burn, and this one is from Janice Maynard, and Janice Maynard is an author that I've read before. I think she wrote a couple of Presents novels that I've read and I've really enjoyed, and also Desire novels as well. So this one follows a character named Jake Lowell, and basically Jake Lowell is a playboy. He's ready to kind of take on the company. He wants to be the CEO, and he wants to make sure that the family is okay and his mom is being taken care of, especially since the father kind of left her in the lurch. And what happens is that a secret is revealed in the first book, and it ends with this book being finally revealed of who it is. I can't really tell you because it'll just spoil everything. So Jake is left to go find this one girl that he hooked up with, that he actually fell in love with and had feelings for, named Nikki. And Nikki is our heroine, and Nikki is a single mother to his baby. So basically he never knew that this child existed because Nikki was hiding it from him, or Nikki never went out to go pursue and find Jake afterwards, after like she attempted to find him like the first couple months, and then Jake kept turning her down. So then Nikki just kind of like gave up and just became a single mother. So this is kind of the story of Jake entering back into the life, claiming the daughter as his and trying to raise the daughter, but also respecting Nikki as a mother, and also respecting the fact that they may still have feelings for each other, and that's going to take some time for them to regroup and to get past all their bitter emotions for each other from their time apart. So this is kind of Jake kind of asking for forgiveness, and Nikki trying to forgive things in the past. So if you guys like one of those romances, definitely check this one out. I found that this one was a 3 out of 5 stars for me. It concluded the story really nicely, but I just didn't really feel too many emotions for our two main characters, and I didn't really feel any pain like in the other books. So that's why it's just an average rating for me. Still enjoyable though. So basically, in conclusion, there are 3 books within the 7-book series that I highly recommend you to check out. The first one would have to be Insatiable Hunger by Yara St. John. I really like her writing, and I'm definitely going to check out more of her books. The second book that I would recommend is Reckless Envy by Joss Woods, and definitely another author that I want to try out and to see if I'll like her books. And then another one is Hidden Ambition by Jules Bennett, which is another author that I want to check out too as well. Another final footnote that I want to talk about is that if you purchase books on Harlequin on special holidays, they tend to have really great sales, and that's where I buy all my Harlequin books. I don't go to Walmart to buy the 3 for $15 because I know that the Harlequin website has better deals than Walmart. These books I actually bought with my points because Harlequin has a rewards points program. So every time you buy books, you gain points, and then if you collect enough points, you get a free book. And I just so happen to have a lot of points. So that's how I ended up getting these books for free. So the deals are really great. You know, the cheapest they can go is like literally buy one, get one free, which comes out to be each book being like $3 Canadian for me. So that's why I always haul a lot sometimes in the months, because they just have really great deals. Recently, they had a Christmas deal where I bought one, buy one, get one free sale too as well. So I ended up buying 8 books, and that is how I end up with a lot of Harlequins. Also, if you guys can see like the shelves in the back, I have a lot of Harlequins too as well, mostly because there are library sales that I used to go to back when COVID wasn't a thing. There also used to be a lot of book festivals, and Harlequin is actually located in the city that I live in. So they would bring out all their books and they will sell for like $1 a piece, and that's how I usually end up with 50 Harlequins every time I go down to the festival. Harlequin is definitely one of my favorite series romances. It's one of my favorite publishers. I really enjoy the authors, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about Harlequin and if it will help and serve a purpose if I made a video about Harlequins. I feel like a lot of my friends know that I just like Harlequin so much that they always kind of come into my DMs and ask me like, which one series should I check out? Who are the authors? And I feel like I have all this information that I'm withholding from you guys if you guys are interested in it. So if you guys are, I'll make a proper video. But until next time, I'll see you guys again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video about me reading 2020 Harlequin novels, and hopefully you guys can discover something new within the Harlequin line as well. But I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye.